So I'll just hit record. And so you were talking about how the specialist society is dwindling down. And you mentioned too, like Da Vinci and Michelangelo and all the different people in the Italian Renaissance, they had the societal encouragement to be curious. And I think we're approaching, as you think so as well, I feel like, because that's what the name of our episode was, the modern Renaissance. We're approaching that modern Renaissance through the internet. And I'm really curious to see what's going to develop with that.
I'd say the biggest catalyst for having more polymaths these days or going forward is more so than anything, I'd say YouTube. Because there are specialists on YouTube teaching anyone who want to listen, because we want more people to watch the video, anyone who would listen to learn about what they have to say. And a guy like me, if you go on my YouTube feed, I'll go from photography, camera. Then I'll go to like nature science, Da Vinci history, modern art history, under the hood of a car type stuff. So it's just random videos, because you could easily have a specialist, history or viewing list, because it's all, if you're a fashion person, you're just looking at fashion stuff. I get it. Right. But, guys like us, our YouTube feed could be, here to there to there to there to
so
there.
erratic.
So we're learning a whole bunch of different stuff from specialists.
Yeah.
But know what they're talking about. I could literally go from a review on a new Sony camera to a TED Talk or a sit-down conversation with Neil deGrasse Tyson about astrophysics.
Exactly, yeah.
It's literally what my YouTube feed looks like.
Mine is too, yeah. And it's interesting because I was watching a video by Tim Ferriss, the specialized generalist or generalized specialist, something like that. One of the two. But essentially speaking, being someone who's T-shaped and having that wide range of knowledge and a specialist knowledge. And so what I'm thinking is that happening is that we have kind of three tiers. You have the generalist, so someone with multiple towers and wide ranging. You have the specialist with one tower. Then you have the T-shape, where it's like a tower and the width. And no matter what, I think the specialist is going out the way. I guess it's going to have to leave. No matter if you want to be a complete master, knowing 98% of your field, whatever it may be, you're still going to have that T-shape, or else you're not going to be able to adapt.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree.
And it's interesting too, because this whole idea of a polymath spectrum, in a way, it really allows people to kind of fit themselves onto that. It's like, hey, I don't really want to be a polymath, but maybe I want to be someone who's a jack of all trades or something.
Mm-hmm. It's we all inherently have that desire to do something more than what we do already. Everyone says, even me, man, I wish I could, I wish I could play guitar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a guitar in my closet for that same reason.
I can't play guitar.
Yeah.
But I have every resource to.
Yeah.
My dad has guitars. He can play guitar. I can ask him, hey, what do I do? But me and you both know that a lot of times what holds us back is the fact that we don't want to start from zero.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to be bad for a long period of time and, waste my time. I could be doing something else, but that something else could be you learning how to play guitar.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things I wish I could do as well, but there's also things that, I've always said like, yeah, I'm going to do it.
That leads into the idea of like opportunity cost, though, because it's almost like we have to choose. And I think to a certain point, we do have to choose. Like, there's going to have to be some things you have to give up, and we have to accept that. But I do also think
we can't be good or decent at everything.
Yeah, just that would be an omnimath, as I would
say. That's impossible.
Yeah, but I actually have a documentation page on my website about that concept, because I wanted to toy with that idea. Like, what if you were an omnimath? What if you could live forever, be an omnimath? And even if you could live forever, the knowledge changes so rapidly, especially now in the modern age. You can't keep up with it, even if you are an omnimath and whatnot.
I kind of related to this. I read like a Twitter feed. Someone, he was kind of just putting on for the 80s babies, or people born around 85 to 88, 89. You're like, we are probably one of the most unique generations, because realize when we were born, there was no internet, no cell phones, no nothing. We were born without internet, without CDs, without modern technology. Learned about it, was formed and formulated, and we got used to it, got good with it. Now they're coming out with some of the newest stuff, and we're still able to utilize that and click onto that right away. but we know what it's like to be without modern technology as well. We're like the end of that trail of no internet, no instant stuff.
When were you born?
88.
88. Okay, so I was born in 95. I'm a millennial. I'm
Oh
a
yeah,
digital native. Yeah. Yeah. So
exactly.
it's interesting.
So it's like that age group was like, I mean, 95, still kind of in there.
Yeah.
Still kind of in there. But it's kind of like if you're born in the 80s, you were like, what it's like to not even have dial-up. Then before that was even a thing.
Yeah.
Cassette tapes, just old stuff we say, old technology.
Right.
Only 30 years ago.
I remember like growing up with cassettes even still too. So I'm young. Yeah. I'm old enough to do it. But like it is interesting too that I grew up as a digital native. I built my first computer when I was 10. And so it's just one of those things that like I had lucky to have a techie family. But these kids nowadays, there was a point where this little girl was trying to play an old Game Boy from the 90s. And she could not fathom the fact that the screen was not a touchscreen. She couldn't.
Look at that difference. You can pick up a Game Boy, like, oh yeah, I miss this thing. Oh my God, it's so cool.
Like, I wish I could emulate this so I could put it at a higher resolution or something like that.
Exactly. And you can also hop onto a Twitch stream and play the newest Fortnite.
Yeah.
So kind of like, you can bridge both of these impactful technology ages.
Right. So there's something that I wanted to talk to you about too. Did we talk about the modular degree the last time we spoke?
I don't think so. No, I don't think we talked about
that. I think I might have just subtly mentioned it because we just didn't have time. We had so much to go over. So the modular degree is the project I've been working on with PolyInnovator. It's like the main focus really at this point, actually. Because basically I wanted to create my own education. I could not find a degree that would suit me. I wanted to work more in smart city and being a content creator and
I remember you touching on that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, essentially speaking, I created my own DIY degree. And so I made it into this modular system. Eventually, it really started evolving into this modular education framework or platform that I've been building, where I wanted to be able to give people the option to learn what they want to learn. That's a very key thing. Like, you have to have choice. If you're not interested in what you're learning, like neither one of us are interested in learning guitar. But it's like, we could if we wanted to.
It'd be nice, but like...
Yeah. But like right now, I've been learning about building an education platform because that's what I'm interested in. Like that's literally what I'm talking about. That's what I've been spending a lot of my time doing. Notion is a tool that I use to organize my entire life. I've been spending my free time watching those videos by a famous YouTuber for it. He's really awesome, August Bradley. And the thing is, I wanted to learn those things. And so I made my own system to do it. I wanted to be able to make this out there. So like if you wanted to make your own modular degree, like I want to learn more about photography, graphics design, whatever particular niche that you want to go into, you have a system based off of it. You mentioned how you go on different YouTube videos. Well, maybe watching some of those in a different order will allow for a new idea to form. And you have to know what that idea would form. Like if you watch a video on how to edit a photo versus knowing how to use Photoshop, that order it can work still, but if you watch it in order, perhaps there might be a better way to do it. So you can just collect a link, collect a page, put it in the system, put it in the database, whether it's YouTube, a MOOC on edX or Coursera or podcast or something like that, and organize it into a cohesive flow. And you get to choose what that flow is. Hopefully down the line, I'll have digital mentors or even AI organize it for you.
I like that. Yeah.
And it's also really cool for polymaths as well, because then you don't have to be confined to a strict one book, boom, 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 linear structure.
I've been following a photographer on YouTube, Daniel Norton. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he makes videos just laid back, tats, does some in studio tutorials, stuff like that. But he just tells it like it is. Mm-hmm. But he said something the other day that struck me as he learned something from somewhere else, totally outside of the field, and he's using it in his main profession now, which Da Vinci did famous. He was when he was growing up, he was a Eagle Scout, and so he got to learn how to knots and knives and all that stuff. And then he was some type of engineer assistant, something like that. He was just setting up and breaking down stuff, basically. And then when he picked up the camera, he noticed that Yeah, I got a camera, and I got to use flashes and lights and all that stuff, expensive stuff. But he's like, I get some of my best shots when I create the stuff off of just everyday appliances or, creative stuff here and there that you might throw out in the junkyard. Like, yeah, I used this and put a lamp there and welded this together and tie these PVC pipes together, and then I got that shot.
Yeah.
I got light to come through in this specific way. So it's like, I like that, just taking information from a different place. His was not by accident, but like by,
Pay attention,
destiny.
being
The
curious.
fact that his history brought him to where he is now, and he's like, cool,
So,
history.
let me interject there, because we were talking about the polymath spectrum earlier and how different levels of that spectrum is different competencies. And I think that in order to improve those competencies, there's two paths, which I think I did tell you this in the interview, or I told it to the person after you. But there's two paths to polymathy. You could literally try to do everything at once and build it up slowly over time, or you can do one, one, one. And personally, I don't see which one. I think either one could be work. It's just the other one is slower. If you do one after the other, it's going to be a little bit more quicker because you're going to have a bit more of a succinct, like snowball effect. But if you do everything at once, you're going to have more of an interleaving experience, like you're saying there, where you're getting different bits of pieces at once. I think it's more fruitful for innovation. And so this idea of the modular degree can be a great way for that. So if you wanted to pursue that particular multidisciplinary pathway at once, you can have a system to help you choose which ones to learn next. And the real key is, the real key is like repetition and interleaving. You have to have spaced repetition to remember it deeply. You also have interleaving. So you have different topics switched between each other. So my first semester was like business, or like entrepreneurship and business. But I also snuck in my second semester topics like sustainability into there a little bit, so I can start seeding the ideas before I get to that semester. And one more thing is that my history as a lifeguard helped me think about this differently. So I made a recent episode on the PolyCast, a micro episode called macro and micro focus. And so you have to know where you are in a macro view and focusing on like, what do I need to do this quarter, this year, this decade? And then you need to know where you are in the micro view. Like, what am I working on today? Like you told me earlier, you're going to be working on cameras. Okay, cool. Today, I have a lot of different things to do. I need to edit videos. I need to take out the dog. I need to go across town. Okay, cool. I know what I need to do. Just need to figure out which order. And that's kind of happening naturally at this point. But that micro and macro focus, I'm hoping to help automate that through the modular degree.
Yeah, it definitely was kind of like we have a million different ideas or tasks that need to be done or want to be done. And a lot of times they're in a million different directions. What we look for is, how do we bring this all together that it's somewhat going in one direction, Right. That's the tricky part. Because before I picked up the camera, my million ideas seemed daunting. And, even for an enthusiastic polymath as I am, I was like, this is never going to get done.
Yeah.
How am I going to do that? This are great ideas. I want to do them.
I think we all hit that point at some point,
They're like, they're so far on many different spectrums. But then sometimes you find that one thing that can bring it together. And for me, it was the camera. It's like, oh, the camera's right in between all four of my ideas.
Yeah.
So let me micromanage this, so that my macro can come all together through one tool, which is a camera.
It's interesting that you say that, because for me, it came more conceptually rather than a specific niche like the photography, the camera. For me, it was a skill, a self-development skill, just in a general sense. Like, what do I need to do for my habits and systems and personality, emotions, mental, physical? And so I spent the past like decade or so, or a little less, pursuing that self-development. So I remember being in like 2012. Or no, it's like 2015, because I was at my own apartment at that point. In 2015, I'm sitting there, okay, I want to do Duolingo, because I was doing it pretty often at that point, and I still like it. I still love learning those languages. I love languages. And there was one in particular, Esperanto, which you might like a lot. It's a universal language, so to speak. It was constructed to be that way, which is cool. But I Duolingo courses, different habits like meditation, reading, exercise. And this was like before I was a personal trainer too. So I didn't have as good of a knowledge in that area just yet. And it's interesting because I kind of like get all these different habits down daily, let alone weekly and consistently. And so it's that same idea, like, how am I going to spread my attention so thin? And then over time, I realized that there's systems in place. It's not just habits, it's systems. Like, for example, when quarantine screwed this up, but like when I was at work, I could just go work out because I work at a recreation center. It's like boom, 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 I'm there.
Yeah.
Or like when I'm bored, I pick up a book and read or something like that. And so I'm just like, I found systems to get it done, but it was like, what the hell do I do to get all of this down into one path?
Yeah. Yeah. The life of a polymath is fun and adventurous, but it's also like, all right,
stressful.
We're a million different ideas in here. How do I put it together? And I see for Da Vinci, he was able to bring it all together through note taking and like sketches.
Mm-hmm.
He'd probably be like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this idea, but he'd just sketch it down. Okay, all right, cool. And then maybe we'd see him revisit it later in a more polished way. So like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the best way for him to document all his stuff. Like, we have to brain dump. That's something I've been learning this past year. So it's like the importance of getting the concepts out of your head, writing it down. I had an idea about the polymath spectrum. I didn't actually work on that until I wrote it down and let it simmer for a while. It's the concept of a slow burn. And now that I'm talking to you about it, talk to someone else about it, I didn't start talking about it until I wrote it down. And so what I feel like, if Da Vinci had Notion, which is a tool I use for my life organization, he would be in a whole nother level. It's amazing what that tool can do. And I'm swearing by it because you can do so many intricate systems like that. A life operating system, as they say.
Well, brain dump, luckily writing it down breathes that first necessary part of life into an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it's just an idea.
Yeah, well, and the whole thing about like a second brain concept is what let's talk about over in Silicon Valley is that you brain dump, so you start it on the slow burner because as soon as it goes in there, it starts going through the system. Like, okay, well, maybe this idea will work for this project or maybe this project. And so you start thinking about it more often like that, like I did. And then you can find an output, like a video or a blog post or a photo or something like that.
Yeah, I started, for that reason, I started using Post-it notes. I was like, I've never been a write it down type guy. Definitely not a Post-it notes. I've got like 2 Post-it notes here with some brand ideas, and like I see them every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like one of those things I don't have to deal with right away, but it's like keep remembering that this is because it's like the big umbrella for what I want to do with everything.
The macro view, the macro focus.
Yeah, exactly. And then right under is basically just a list of names I have going forward for like the main the LLC that I'm going to start it for, like all my like projects basically.
Yeah. And
under it, there's a Post-it note just written on it as panoptic. Just that word, panoptic. So someone brought that word to me. I was like, did we talk about that last time?
I don't think so.
But someone brought the word to me. I was like, wow, why have I never heard of that word? Panoptic. And I was like, oh, let me write it down. So I just got it here. Just having that panopticism. Or panoptics is having
seeing the whole view.
The full view. Yeah. So I was like, I can use that word.
Yeah, I'm going to now too. So PolyInnovator is my umbrella. What's your umbrella? Just Polymath Playground, or is it just Eric Wallace?
The whole thing has been Polymath Playground. And then I wanted to, now that I say the fact that I picked up the camera, I dove into that with a passion. It's one of those things that I love to do now.
Yeah.
And I could see myself doing for a long time. And as a pro athlete, that's a big challenge we all have. Figuring out something to do outside of sports.
Yeah.
That's the hard part, especially if you're not going to go into coaching or, in the sports industry. Yeah. It's tough. We, even myself, we struggle with finding something outside of, waking up and getting yelled at by a coach. Mm-hmm. We do. And that's like a mental
shift in a way,
hurdle to be addressed within leagues, within schools, talking to, individuals. So, but like the fact that I found the camera and like, it's something that in my heart, I knew like, this is what I could do for a long time. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind having a 9-to-5 hitting the shutter.
Yeah.
I'm cool. That's great. And so, and then it's like that brought it all together. Then I was like, let me change the way like I'm thinking about my overall brand, because there's some ideas I want to have under my belt that I want to have my name attached to with the Polymath tag on it.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me rename, think about names to have as a full umbrella. Like you have a PolyInnovator.
Mm-hmm.
Let me figure out the name I want. Because Polymath Playground has been the catalyst. Before that, Polymathic Ambitions. After that, it was Polymath University. So I kind of like it's been morphing over the last.
Well, you gotta be careful with Polymath too, because there's a lot of other brands people doing the kind of same thing. Like there's someone who's literally Polymath. There's a Polymath cryptocurrency. It's just called Polymath. There's a Polymath agency for creativity. I actually interviewed the CEO on my show too. And then there's like another Polymath out there too. So it's like and I had the Polymath PolyCast for my show. It's annoying because I want to use that word, but it's almost oversaturated now in a way. And I say that knowing that there's not actually that much content out there.
There's not that many of them, but like it's such a
SEO.
I wouldn't even say niche, but it's such a
anti-niche.
Yeah.
What I used to say. But
not many people who know what the word is, but the people who know what the word is, you can easily find the polymath.
That's why I made PolyInnovator, is just to make my own name, make my own word. That might be do too, because like for me, I wanted to be known for innovation. I wanted to become a polymath. And so I combined that PolyInnovator to make that word. And it actually spawned from a different word I made. So just like you, when you had that history, I had a different brand before PolyInnovator, the United Living Construct, which I don't know if I mentioned to you or not, but it was essentially this idea of a hub of innovation, bringing people together like you and I to work on projects and accomplish things. And so the problem was, though, I wasn't good enough yet. I needed to become more. I had to pursue my own modular degree and become more. And then on top of that, the company that I was trying to build wasn't going to work without a face. And I wasn't good enough for that face yet. But if I built a personal brand, that's just about me. I don't care if I'm good enough yet, because I'm going to show my journey. And so that was the shift for me there.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so I had an idea of a polyolcean, which is someone who is a combination of different things. I'll spare the details on that, but essentially that polyolcean was like my brand name. And at that point, it's like, it's so weird of a word to use and people can't say right. I can't even say it right at the time. PolyInnovator rolls up the tongue a little bit better.
I mean, that's one thing I did. I forgot who. I don't even know where I heard it from. I think it was a video. They're saying like brands morph and change sometimes until it lands on what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay.
It was interesting how I came across PolyInnovator too. It just kind of shifted. Like it literally landed on my lap and I took it within like a day, I think.
Yeah.
Didn't take any hesitation. Like I changed all my socials to it and all that stuff. So yeah. Also, there's one thing I wanted to talk to you about too before I guess we kind of end up wrapping up the recording. We can talk afterwards and whatnot. Honestly, at this point, I feel like posting it because it seems interesting. The education of polymaths. I already got the title in my head and everything, bro. So I created this idea of a personal poly-innovation system. So it incorporates self-education, self-improvement, and self-development. And the first one, self-education, that's the modular degree. That's the self-education. You're learning. I got to put it into the system. That is the brain dump, or actually in this case, brain absorption, right? And then you have the self-improvement, which is the habits and systems, which I haven't touched on too much personally. I still need to learn more myself before I talk more about it. But building habits is something I'm able to do. I just can't explain it well yet. And I know other people know how to do it, like James Clear, Atomic Habits. That's where I send people when people want to know more about it. And then the final part is the self-development, your 4 pillars, the 4 pillars philosophy, which I might have mentioned before too. So mind, body, the spirit, and emotions, and balancing that in life. Like you were mentioning earlier, everyone's just kind of like lazy during this quarantine time because like our bodies aren't being as active as it might once been. We're not going outside getting the vitamin D. Yeah. So it's interesting. And so that 3-tier system allows people like us to really, and people not like us too, to succeed much more effectively.
Yeah. I always say, well, everyone's a natural born polymath, but I also realize that, we're not all going to achieve Da Vinci status, of course. And we're not all going to do everything we want to do before time's up.
Yeah.
We're not. But it's the instilling the encouragement or that small spark of maybe giving that one, go back to guitar, maybe giving that one guitar lesson a try. And maybe that's sparking your music career, or maybe giving that, maybe going to buy that $200 starter Sony camera and that sparking a photography career, which in my case did. I never really thought I'd be growing up. It was photography.
Yeah.
What? Seriously? No. I think I took one darkroom class, and I was in middle school or something.
Darkroom. That's showing your age there a little bit there too.
Yeah, we did darkroom. Yeah, I think we did. It was like early morning for like a week. We got up and we used shared cameras within the class, took pictures like some birds or flowers, whatever. Took it to the dark room, and that was like my extent of photography. And led to modeling, then seeing photographers, and here I am now.
Yeah,
on the side of the camera. But yeah, it's kind of like we're not all going to be on the farthest end of your spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
We aspire to be. Like, I love to be talked about 500 years from now, like eventually.
Yeah.
But it's that living that full life and being a polymath. It's kind of like you're inherently shedding the insecurities, because you're going to be bad at stuff. Yeah. You're going to fail at.
There's also the imposter syndrome though too. Some people do feel like that.
My mom was talking about that the other night too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she owns a successful fashion week here in Winston. It's six year. It's something that she's been honing for a long time. I was like, that's her baby. But like, she even still struggles with like, am I supposed to be doing this, or who am I kidding? You know what I'm saying? This is, and like, from the outside looking in, we're like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Like, go from year 1 to year 6. Look where we are now.
Well, and I think that's the external encouragement. Like, you and I talking encourage each other. Like, we both are like, hell yeah, because go do it. Like, I may not want to pick up a camera and do photography, but I know that you will. I was like, do it then. Like, go ahead and have fun with it. I still like actually cameras. I like taking pictures. I like taking videos. I'm just not. That's a skill I'm pushing out.
I wouldn't say full on imposter syndrome, but I'll have moments on like, do I even know what I'm doing? You know what I'm saying? But I'll also keep going. I'll encourage myself to pick up the camera and go shoot. Mm-hmm. And then, you're getting better every time you hit the thing. And recently I looked back at my first photo shoot I did, and the first photos I took. I'm like, yeah, definitely getting better.
Yeah.
Where I should be.
It's interesting too, because like having people, you were on my show, and so like having people like you on my show too is interesting, because that led me to have a little bit more accountability. Like, if I screw up, I'm screwing you over, and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. But if and the interviews are like my secondary series, but they've been more consistent than my main series. So my main series, the only accountability factor is me. And on top of that too, I did have issues with tools. Like, I had to give myself some credit there, but I'm also thinking to myself, like, am I doing the right thing? Should I go get a full-time job and then do this on the side? Or should I focus all my effort on this and then actually make money from it down the line? Huh?
We all think about that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, where I've been sowing the seeds of multiple different revenue streams. Like, I haven't made all of them yet, but I made designs for merch. I showed you earlier specialproject.io, which is like a Netflix YouTube hybrid where I can get subscriptions from that. I've been looking at making courses. In fact, right now, I've been looking at trying to build my own education platform, which on its own could be a monetization source of some kind, if not the courses themselves at the very least. And because I want to make specialized courses, which I think you'll like. We can talk about that sometime. Skill tree based courses.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you read my Omni blog on that, but it's interesting because there's a lot of different things you can do now to sow the seeds, and then when you're ready, jump.
Yeah.
Our journeys. It's going to make us cry. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you want to go? We could both share that story.
5 years from now. Someone asked me this earlier. One of the day too, I was talking to someone on Zoom, actually. He owns the Excel Tribe. He started a company, social media page, basically highlighting bigger and big and tall guys. For modeling. He was like, yeah, we're models too, you know what I'm saying? So he started that. So he's like, man, I'm so glad I started. So he asked me, what do I see in 5 years? Right now, I love to have my own space, studio, where I'm doing photo shoots. Also have a podcast corner where I can do my podcast that I'm going to still need to launch. And basically, I'm a building with my Polymath production studio, media group, media, whatever it lands on.
Yeah, I can just cut out the rest of it when I come.
It might change next week, but where everything that I'm housing is doing, where I'm able to crank out the magazine, educating people, informing people on what other people are doing that are kind of outside their niche or, above and beyond what they were supposed to do, or the podcast, talking to pro athletes about what they're doing outside of sports.
Athlete right there, yeah.
Yep. Photo shoots, just, with those individuals that come on the podcast or for the magazine as well. And I just want to have my own group and have my own space where I'm able to work for myself and talk about some stuff.
You should move to Austin with me when I get down there, and we'll make a space together.
Everyone's moving to Texas, so I might have to jump on that train.
Dude, Austin's where it's at. It's like all the people like us, techies and whatnot. And
you see the exodus from California to Texas?
Oh, I have not.
Like, recently, just a whole bunch of people just moving to Texas.
Well, what's the point of staying in San Francisco? Everyone's going remote.
It's expensive, and
Austin's not cheap, though. I'm kind of conflicted. Austin was one of the two places. The other one was Singapore, which I was enamored with for like the longest time. And then someone told me something recently that kind of like skewed my perception. So essentially, it's like one of the most modern cities in the world, and it's a city-state. It's like Athens back in ancient Greek, where they run their own country essentially. And so since it's the same level, the government, the city, and the state are the same, it allows for much more quicker action. So the city's super clean, super modern. There's advancements. But I found out there's no recycling and there's no sustainable energy. In a city like that, there's none of that. In fact, they just throw away everything, and they get 30% of their energy from Malaysia. They don't even produce all of their energy. And I'm like, first off, that's an opportunity for me to go in there and change things. But it's like, I thought they would be more advanced than that. Yeah. So that was just me kind of ranting a little bit. What's a place that you've always wanted to move to?
LA. As of maybe in the last 5 years, LA has been a place I wouldn't mind going to. But I know that's, all I hear is expensive.
Yeah.
Traffic. You hear the horror stories, but you also hear a lot of people saying, I love it out here. I'd moved back to Chicago. I was there for college. That was an awesome city. Australia, like I said, I almost didn't come back.
Yeah.
Melbourne, I loved it there, man. If NFL wasn't the window open, I would have, probably stayed.
Yeah. So just kind of wrapping this up, in case I do post this recording, Eric Wallace, Polymath Playground, Dustin Miller, PolyInnovator. Come check us out. All right. Peace.